Hello, all. So there's this story that I thought I should look into. Let's see here. Move that up here. All right. It says here an elderly woman in prison is losing her memory. Why won't California release her? Um, hmm. Let's see. Prison guards stood by as Jeanette Carter, 69, sat in her wheelchair and tried to explain the gaps in her memory. Well, at least she remembered that she forgot. It was May 2022 and her third time appearing before the California Parole Board, which would decide whether to free her after 25 years. I can't remember a whole lot of stuff, she said when commissioner asked why she couldn't articulate what she'd learned in prison programs. So she can't rehabilitate because she can't remember the lesson that she's supposed to learn. A lawyer later pointed to a doctor's report that documented some causes, Parkinson's disease, early dementia, and a neurocognitive disorder, chemotherapy, and a head injury. Well, it's like she's doing everything she can to forget. Despite Carter's age, her rapidly deteriorating health, and her repeated apologies for her memory loss, the commissioners denied her parole and admonished her for her inability to answer questions. You're manipulative. Yes, she is. You're lacking in sincerity. You do continue to pose an unreasonable risk of danger to society. Of course she does. Just because you forgot the crimes you committed doesn't mean they forgot. Carter has been serving a life sentence. Yeah, life. It's life. Sentenced since 1998, advocates say that the refusal to release elderly incarcerated people is part of a growing humanitarian crisis in California across the U.S. Then why do we have life sentences then? If you can just get out when you're old, it doesn't make any sense. We're an aging population of people who have been locked up for decades, have few or no opportunities to be freed. Yeah, I think that was intentional. That was like it's part of the program. To come home would be a dream come true. Yes, obviously they would enjoy not being in prison. Carter said in a recent phone call, "I'm really looking forward to being with my family, and I want to try to pay back the community." Oh, you remember your family and the community. I want to help other people. I don't know what your crimes were, but you weren't helping anybody when you did them. I want the people out there to know that the people in here really need their support. Wow, wow, wow. She's really manipulative. I can see what he was talking about. Thousands of elderly imprisoned, even with widespread evidence that releasing the elderly poses no threat. An average of 600 elderly parole cases were denied each year in California from 2019 to 2021, state records reveal. The financial costs are enormous, with the state spending billions annually to house older people in prison. And the human toll is severe as families remain indefinitely separated while the elderly become increasingly likely to die inside. I think that was the point. I think they wanted them to serve life in prison. I mean, you could bring back the what was it was the executions, and then you don't have to worry about living their whole lives. But I mean, that would probably be inhumane too. I just want to be able to take care of her, said Deborah Dass, Carter's sister. How old is the sister? I can never figure out why, with all her health problems, they think she's a danger to society. She's in a wheelchair and can barely take care of herself. She deserves a few good years. Why does she deserve a few good years? What are you talking about? If anybody doesn't deserve a couple of good years, it's at least criminals. I mean, even good, decent people don't get that. A number of older Americans in prison have surged in recent decades, in part due to harsh sentencing laws. More than 203,000 people are now serving life sentences in the U.S., and 61,000 of them, 30%, are 55 and older. Some experts estimate that by 2030, there could be 2,000 elderly dementia patients in prison in the US. Okay, so if 30% of them are that old, that would mean that most of these life sentences happened a long time ago, and those people are still serving them out, which means there's less life sentences being handed out recently. Roughly 11,700 people in California prisons are 60 years and older. They remain incarcerated despite widespread evidence that people age out of crime. They don't age out of their sentences, though. And that when lifers do get released, they rarely reoffend, probably because it's harder. Some data suggests fewer than 1% commit a new crime against a person. More than 1/3 of people in the California prisons are serving life sentences, one of the highest rates in the US. I can never figure out why, with all of her, oh my God, this chick again. It's inhumane to keep people longer than necessary from public safety point of view. And particularly as people become elderly and have some health issues, there's a cruelty argument. Catherine Beckett. I guess, but like, then what would be the point of these sentences then? I mean, do you only choose the people you feel sympathy for to apply these laws to? Then does the laws matter at that point? If you could just manipulate people to feel sorry for you and you can get out of your life sentences? Parkinson's has taken a lot. When people sentenced to life become eligible for parole in California, they attend a hearing where commissioners weigh whether they present a threat. The parole board is charged with assessing candidates' current dangerousness. It's a long word right there. And is not supposed to reject people based on their offense. What do you mean? Of course what? Is that really a law? They're not supposed to reject people based on their offense? Because I'm pretty sure they do that. I mean, I would do it. But in Carter's first hearing in 2018, the commissioners denied her freedom, saying her crime was atrocious and deplorable. They seem to not be mentioning what a crime is, but Liz Carter, who grew up in Minnesota and Orange County, California, met her husband, Lynn Carter, at a bowling alley. She had various jobs until 1996. Why are you telling me all this? When at age 43, she was assaulted while working at a storage facility, struck in the head, knocked unconscious, and hospitalized. She began to suffer memory loss from the trauma her records show. But what was her crime? A year later, she and her husband took in Kenneth Boone, a distant relative. In July 1997, Boone and another man killed Lynn Carter. Prosecutors allege that Jeanette Carter helped plan the attack. Wait, Lynn Carter. Okay, so is Lynn the husband? Husband's Lynn Carter. And we're talking about Jeanette Carter? Prosecutors allege that Jeanette Carter helped plan the attack. Then why was she arrested? Was there evidence that she helped? I'm confused by this. What is going on? Where am I? What, every time I move, this shit just keep moving. Okay, plan the attack. Oh my God, what is happening? Okay, Carter testified that she had no part in killing her. In the killing, lawyers said she was drugged by Boone and unconscious when it happened, and that when she awoke, he threatened to kill her and her parents if she reported what happened. Boone admitted in his testimony that he that he'd been trying to rob Lynn and that Jeanette played no role. She has confessed to helping cover up the death under threat. She was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to 26 years to life, her first criminal offense. In prison, she has immersed herself in Bible study. Oh, that's the classic I'm trying to get out of jail thing. Got to get in some religion, you feel me? Learn sign language to aid deaf residents. I mean, you're in prison, you got to do something with your time. Help start a cancer support group. But didn't she have cancer? So it's like self-interest. Crocheted blankets. Did she help other elderly people take shits? Like, what is going on? Like, you're just going to list every and earned her GED. Meanwhile, her health and cognitive skills have declined. Well, she can't be doing those things at a high level anymore. So, and she survived cancer in 2009. Medical records show she has since been classified as totally disabled. And the prison's own psychologist said she was a low risk for violence since she had no rule violation reports her entire term. Okay. After Carter told the parole board in 2020 that Parkinson's has taken a lot of my memory, and on a daily basis, it takes more. Your lack of memory appears to be selective. I'm starting to pick up on this chick might be up to something. In her board hearing this year, she paused dozens of times while speaking. Yeah, she's definitely playing up the memory loss for sometimes for 30 seconds, but the prosecutor discounted her impairments. I do not believe that the elderly issues regarding her physical abilities would deter her from committing a crime. I doubt she would actually commit a crime, especially at her age. I mean, unless it's against a child, but she could still plan some stuff, I guess. As Carter read her closing statement expressing remorse and apology to her late husband's family, commissioners interrupted, saying they are having trouble hearing her. She never finished her remark. Why are you even saying this? I know in my mind what I want to say, but I can't express it. It won't come out. Well, you said that very clearly. Carter told The Guardian that it felt as if the board ignored her lawyer's explanation of her disabilities. Yes. Why would you feel that way? That's exactly what they did. It's very hard to concentrate. I know in my mind what I want to say, but I can't express it. It won't come out. My mind just freezes and I can't go forward. I don't believe that. As Carter's lawyers challenged the latest denial, the board's chief counsel reviewed it and found errors in the process that had a substantial likelihood of impacting the outcome, according to the spokesperson who declined to elaborate on the findings. The board vacated the decision and scheduled a new hearing inside parole. God damn it. The sun is in my eyes and I couldn't care less about this at this point. Let's see, 20 years, said Carter's experience was common, noting how the board can cite people's needs for mental health care as justification to keep them imprisoned. After we fail to adequately treat people while they're in prison, in final insult to their humanity and dignity, we deny them parole based on the fact that they need treatment, falsely claiming that this makes them still dangerous all this time later. Okay. Records obtained by Uncommon Law show a 94-year-old man with dementia was denied because he lacks insight. Well, he has dementia. He does lack insight. And a man who attempted self-deletion was denied because he was recently unstable. He probably forgot about it. Data analyzed by Uncommon Law showed that from 2019 to 2021 in California, roughly 17% of all people scheduled for parole hearings were granted parole. Those with low-level mental health challenges were approved for release. Only 11.4% of case studies, roughly numbers, don't care, whatever. We cannot tolerate a society that incarcerates people for so long that they can't survive on the outside, and then that becomes the reason to keep them incarcerated. Yeah, but I mean, it's the system that we have. Are you trying to say the system is wrong? Or are you trying to use the system to release somebody? Said Ashley Nellis, senior research analysis. I mean, what would you do with these people? I mean, the prison system is pretty much meant to remove them from society. And by removing them, you kind of make it hard for them to then adapt to society, unless you want to create some sort of like job training prison system where they're pretty much, it's pretty much like the prison becomes like a college at this point. Carter said in an interview, this is supposed to be where we get rehabilitation and help. No, it's not. It's not supposed to be. It's supposed to remove them from society, and it's supposed to punish them. It's called rehabilitation, but like, how do you really rehabilitate someone? Like, you don't know. You don't even have any suggestions, except for releasing them when you feel sorry for them. But for a lot of us in wheelchairs and the elderly, it's really hard. When they say life sentence, they mean that shit. I'm sorry. Some people take their shit serious. Dana Simas, a prison spokesperson, said in an email that California has taken a leading role in releasing people with life sentences, and that blah, 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 numbers. And she also said low approval rates were partly due to some hearings getting postponed. If somebody has served 15 years in prison and they are not rehabilitated, there's something wrong with the system. Again, it's not meant to rehabilitate. Just because someone commits a crime doesn't necessarily mean that something is wrong with them. Just means that they didn't follow the rules. So how do you rehabilitate that? Well, you put them in prison, and then they have to learn new rules, and basically they just develop habits that makes them criminals. You didn't rehabilitate them, you turned them into criminals at that point. It's the system is messed up, and trying to claim the propaganda about what the system is supposed to do as a reason as to releasing people doesn't make any sense, because you know that it doesn't do that. It doesn't rehabilitate people. The parole board maintains public safety as our ultimate primary responsibility. Seema said, added that people's disabilities were only part of the consideration. While advanced age is generally a factor that mitigates a person's overall risk, the board must take into consideration all relevant information. I think they did that. That's why they were denying her, despite the age. Tremaine, okay, Tremaine Trigger, Carol, a 50-year-old incarcerated at Carter's prison who also uses a wheelchair, said the parole process can discount people's illnesses. If you do have dementia or other disabilities or issues related to aging, they start from a position of you're being manipulative. I mean, most of you could probably be manipulative, especially if you're criminals and you're used to trying to somehow find a way to get things done and or get out of prison, and you find out that all of a sudden there's a system in place to release a bunch of prisoners if they have dementia, then all of a sudden a lot of people are going to start getting dementia. Now they can't remember stuff now. So most of the people claiming they have dementia are probably being manipulative. So they have to find a way to somehow confirm whether or not it's true or not. So, you know what I mean? Being skeptical right away is probably the best way to go about it. You know, especially if you're releasing violent criminals. She added, if somebody has served 15 years in prison and they are not rehabilitated, blah, blah, blah. Another chance at freedom. Carter's sister, said she worries daily that her sister won't make it out of prison alive. In recent years, both of their parents had one of their sisters have died, and Carter never got to say goodbye. Never gonna say goodbye. Her drive to come home is strong. What? Yeah, it should be. You're in prison. So if your drive to come home wasn't strong, I don't know what you're doing with your life. Her attorney with Uncommon Law, but she's been in and out of the hospital struggling to cope. Carter has a fourth hearing scheduled this Thursday, but contracted the COVID 2 weeks prior and at one point was so ill Das could barely understand what she was saying on the phone. Well, probably it was an inconvenient time to try to talk to her on the phone then. That said, she remains proud of her sister's ability to take care of the women around her. And how she's so sickly that she has to be released, but she's also surviving COVID, but she's also taking care of all these people. Like it's all contradicting. The courts are probably right. Your sister's probably manipulating some stuff, and you're helping to take care of the women around her in the prison. And when she's been denied parole, Carter tries to remain positive and lean into her fate. She says that God has a plan for her. Maybe there's one more person inside who needs her help. Yeah, think positive. Enjoy your stay. Life in prison. Wow. Till next time.